Welcome back to the LCS and the LCS waiting room. Day 2 of the first weekend of the Summer Split. Moving right along. Yeah, that is another way to say the word 2. Well done, Mark.
I only know dose ways of saying it.
I hate him.
Really? You can't say 2 in French?
Duh.
Thank you.
There it is.
That's it's a very easy one. Now you can say it 3 ways, Mark.
Korean, it's what?
You done? Are you done with this bit? Are you done with this bit? All right, we'll move on.
Okay.
We're going to start off with something a little fun today. Those of you who tuned into the show nice and early yesterday will have seen the LCS turn evil with Evil Geniuses taking the title. Some people had fun with it on Twitter. Me when I select an Enchanter support versus me when I pick Pyke support.
He changed that to his profile picture on Twitter.
It's pretty brilliant.
He was very pleased with it, honestly.
I'm not sure I thought Azeal would pull it off the best, but I think Azeal pulls off the evil look the best.
Yeah.
I think I pulled it
That would
off
be
the
you would be the only.
I thought the grudge Emily was.
I think the Azeal still looks like Azeal.
Yeah.
You become something else entirely.
I just look like the girl from either The Ring or The Grudge.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was
Which is
great. It was so
hilarious.
fun.
Are all the props still around? Because
They have to be.
he
sure.
should absolutely. I don't know when he should do it, but one day for an EG
Show up
game
with
that
the
he's
spike
casting.
Well, I was
collar,
kind of
yeah.
hoping yesterday he'd open the show with the.
Yeah.
Because they were the first casters yesterday. It's a missed opportunity, but maybe next time around
Yeah,
when
next
EG's
EG
up on
game.
the,
I'll
up on
deliver
the
him the
stage, we'll
feedback.
get that one. Either way, a little fun to kick off the day. Now let's take a look at the schedule, what's in store for us. We kick things off with C9 versus Golden Guardians before Team Liquid is going to go up against Dignitas. Evil Geniuses, 100 Thieves, a big matchup smack dab in the middle of the day. TSM hunting for their first win against a CLG that started off hot on day number 1. We close things out with FlyQuest versus Immortals Progressive.
TSM CLG, I think, is actually going to be really close. Because, again, I didn't think TSM looked that bad in their loss. It was kind of like some mid-game stuff where 100 Thieves just had a better understanding of how to put out their comp. And then CLG looked really good, and now
They
it's
did.
like, okay, we saw them look good before. Can they continue and be consistent in their wins?
We see the score lines here. Let's just get the other perspective of it with the teams stack ranked in the standings. Obviously, 5 teams at 1-0, 5
I love
teams
day 1
at
standings.
0-1.
I know.
It's always great.
You're either first or last.
But it just makes it a little bit easier for us to remind ourselves of the results from yesterday with teams like 100 Thieves, CLG, Evil Geniuses, FlyQuest, and Team Liquid Honda picking up wins.
It's honestly not that far off from the spring split standings. You have mostly the same top 5 teams and the one that's slotted in there right now.
CLG,
over
obviously.
Cloud9,
Yeah.
But we'll see if they correct over time. Correct.
Correct.
Based off my power
I was
ranking.
going to say, you were
Based off my prediction.
presupposing the results of the entire split.
Wow.
That there is a correct answer
There
to the
is
LCS.
mine.
You didn't know. From there, as we love to do on day 1s, day 2s, is overreact to everything. So we just pulled a few reactions from people throughout the community. 10 teams, 1 trophy. Who's going to win the Summer Split? Prob 100 Thieves. Says some faith that they're going to come back and take it. Cloud9, CLG.
So, yeah, I was going to point that out.
Caligari going for Cloud9.
CLG in the name.
There's only so
I was
far
going for
faith
cream
can go.
cheese.
Cream cheese, obviously.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that one.
I mean, the man's he's got to win a championship.
1,000%.
You promised 7.
I got to win a championship,
Yeah.
man. Oh, Lord. Okay, TSM looks a lot better than last split. I'll give them that. I'm not sure that's an overreaction. It is obviously only 1 game, but I'll agree with it. They do look better than
Very
last
logical
split.
reaction.
Yeah, that to me is more logical than anything else. This was also shot out in the middle of the day yesterday. I wonder if Team Liquid will join this
No.
with TSM and Cloud9 starting the summer 0-1. Not the case.
They did the exact opposite of that. They perfect gamed IMT.
They hard stomped.
Yes.
That is a way to start. Yesterday, Mark, I know you weren't on Waiting Room, but like we went hard on how Team Liquid, like you have to win this.
Oh,
split.
yeah.
Again, with the wallet, with everything that you've thrown at this roster, this team, the expectations are massive. So perfect game to start off the split. Come on.
I think that's what everyone wants. Not just like you can get first in the regular season, but be like that Immortals that was like 17-1. Be like that old
Yes.
TSM that was 17-1. Like for how much you're putting into this roster, it should be dominating the teams.
You
in the bottom
disagree?
half of the
Why are you
standings.
shaking your head?
I'm just saying, Mark's never pleased. He's like, 1 perfect game. No, I want 2 perfect games.
Mark
No, I'm
demands-
happy with that, but I'm saying
Mark
now
demands
just
perfection.
continue doing that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was
We
elated.
need more perfect games.
17 perfect games.
Wow.
Are you wearing my shoes?
Maybe I am.
No, not you, him. I think those might be my
No, I
shoes.
appreciate yours.
just
I didn't
realized.
dress myself today. I'm a
don't
grown,
think you've
I'm
ever
a
dressed
man
yourself.
child.
On average, how many days a year do you dress yourself? That's what I'm.
You can't
No
think of it.
show day.
You can't think of it.
Wow.
He didn't give an answer.
Oh, yeah, he just sidestepped that one like a master. All right, okay, we've heard from Twitter. Now let's get some hot takes and overreactions from fans here at the LCS Tailgate. Ooh, this will be fun. Roll the clip.
EG, all the way to Worlds, anime art, Jojo Pyun, Danny, total anime deal right there.
TSM's gonna go all the way. They're gonna win the split. They're gonna go to World, and they're gonna take it all. No more old chicks, right?
Alright, for sure Cloud9 is gonna be #1, and then maybe 100 Thieves, because I don't know, they're slacking a little bit. But C9 definitely. I believe in Fudge. I believe in the Fudge factor for sure.
Hi, my best hot take is C9 is going to win regular season and the whole thing in playoffs.
So 2 votes for Cloud9 there. Confidence in the Fudge factor.
Yeah.
Saying Cloud9 will take the regular split and playoffs, to me, that is a little bit of a bold statement, partially because of the roster stuff. So just, right out the gate, they're already working against probably, having to climb, a couple wins back in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely skilled enough to take playoffs. I think the regular season thing is the one, just because they're going to have to be adjusting to like a variety of different.
I was surprised to see the TSM jersey girl
Going
go
for EG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the guy not in the TSM clothing was the TSM diehard who said they're going to win. That was the hot. You were talking about C9. The TSM prediction was.
That actually is probably just a really good, analogy to like TSM's most recent few splits, right? Like, I think you'd be hard pressed a few years ago to find any TSM fan who would vote for anyone other than TSM. And now it's just like, okay, everyone's couched a little bit more around that org because of recent performance, and we'll have to see if the roster that they've put together for summer can change that tune a little bit, get us back to the old ways of TSM, the cockiness that we know and love out of them.
I hope so. Speaker was talking some smack already yesterday.
Well, he called for both your heads, didn't he?
He called
Primarily Mark.
Primarily Mark.
He didn't know about me.
He skipped over you when you rated them lower. That was my favorite.
He wasn't aware until Mark outed me on Twitter.
He kind of knew that
He kind of knew. He said someone said 7, someone said 9.
Yes.
But then he called for Mark's head.
He called for
I don't know
us
what
to be
it is.
fired.
I don't know what it is about Mark that makes him more dislikable than you. But even
I
with
will say,
a better
Travis,
rating, and Speaker's like, get this Mark guy out.
Travis specifically was working against Mark on that.
That's
one.
true.
He was doing
I was
his
being
hardest.
thrown under a bus.
Inside job on that one. He's your employer too, though, right? With Travis Gafford Industries.
It's a murky relationship.
It's okay. It's a day-to-day kind of thing. Here's a question that I kind of had that I wanted to pose to the three of you. And obviously, again, overreactions is day one. We've had one day of play. But given the number of different roster moves we've had, as we see here on the screen, Dokla being one of those moves and having a pretty big pop-off game yesterday, I'm curious, on the outset, what is the best roster move that was made between spring and summer?
You get the easy answer.
Single roster. Did we say Jensen?
Sorry. So a single move. So even if a team made multiple player changes, I want you to tell me which of the moves.
I'll take the layup so they can have fun. The layup is Jensen.
No.
It's just like a return of one of the greatest players of all time in North America to an org that he flourished on before with great players around him. Yes, there's the ramp-up time like Emily and Raz were just talking about, but this lineup should be looking at Worlds from a position where in spring they were starting to come apart. So that's why it's a great roster move. But it was surrounded by like 3 other moves, so it's hard to just say Jensen in isolation.
What a hot take, Mark.
I told you I was saying the easy one. Go have fun. Go say one of the other ones now.
All right, give us something fun, Raz.
Ignar is a fun one. He's a fun player. He's the type of person that's going to always look for action. Yesterday is not indicative of what we'll be seeing from IMT.
Okay.
So I had them the highest of the people at the dive when we were ranking teams, and a lot of it is based off of what Ignar has done in the past. Was in the finals when he was with FlyQuest. When in Worlds, when he was with Misfits, he has that experience. He has a firm knowledge of how he wants to play the game, and so I think that combination with him and Kenvi is going to work out well.
I'll agree with this person. I think it's Jensen. But
this person, you didn't want to say your name.
Dokla, Toady. Grody.
Oh, there we go, Toady.
Tony Grody.
I think it was really cool to see Dokla play a carry pick. First of all, we're going to be talking about this a little later with solo lane picks, but in this meta. But it was a really fun composition, maybe Poom and Luger weren't having as much fun on their champions, but I thought it was cool to see that look from CLG because it shows a different dimension of what they can do.
Yeah.
And so if they can be consistent and play around top side and also play around bot side with such a strong hyper carry player like Luger, it spells really good things for
You don't
CLG.
think Luger was having a good time?
I love your Seraphine impression.
I'm not having a good time. Can't imagine he was.
Dude's turn mute voice lines. There you go. Well, obviously, some of those veteran roster moves, some of those academy roster moves, wanted to kind of touch in with the academy scene and how it relates to the LCS. Just going to quote Cubby on this one. This is the second year in a row where FlyQuest have had a player go from not being in the ecosystem to winning a game on the LCS stage in less than a year. A ton of credit to their academy team and staff that has consistently improved as a team and individually. I just think that's a good way to give credit to a team that has one of the many teams that now is choosing to invest heavily in academy players, give them opportunities, and rightfully so, we should highlight the moments where those moves find success.
True. Actually, it reminds me of the time, I mean, Cubby, of course, made the reference to it, but last year when it wasn't working out too well for FlyQuest, they opened the door for their academy team as a whole, right?
Yeah,
so you
true.
got to sing the praises of players who are literally, everyone can remember the fact that FlyQuest took a huge win versus TSM and a lot of teams. And people were like, wait, how good are academy players really if they can just kind of manifest that success on an LCS stage? So it's always exciting to see that, and I want to see a lot more of that.
It's obviously a risk. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it pays off big. Now, we've seen a number of success stories coming out of Academy. Let's check in on the Academy action from week 1 here in the Summer Split.
He's going for a flank.
He's coming from the back. He's coming from the back. Here comes Tenacity. It is time to fight. Tenacity with the Ragnarok will rock Jay.
He's here.
Walking away. Harry's on the flank. Harry gets caught. The charm pulls him right on in, but there's the hostile takeover. Payback gonna be.
Oh, they save him!
Harry surviving. Harry's gonna be okay.
Moving his head onto Yone, the root comes down, no follow-up. And Bradley, yeah, Lucio's marking Bradley, making sure that he can protect his back like they turn their tail right onto Bradley. If they burn him down, that's a huge advantage.
Notoriously one of the best. Now in the top lane, Surdy looking to get a kill onto Bradley. A couple more autos should do it. A flash forward. He finds the Vital.
He had a counter pick, but we got a pause.
Takeover and Copy both show up at the same time with a nice wild growth, trying to see if it can keep people alive, but Copy has to bail. True Shot Barrage getting a lot of damage to set up Hyper.
Tony Top spots him out. There's the cannon barrage. It's going deep. Will is able to isolate Tony Top, who's by himself for a while, but buying some time is going to be XU. Going with the stopwatch. A big pickup coming out for Tenacity. Getting the kill on the spawn. A double kill coming out for Tenacity as he's going to chase down all of Dignitas.
Who's next is a question we're going to be asking all split long, but we're lucky to be joined by none other than Joshi to walk us through a number of academy prospects that he's got his eyes on. We just got a nice highlight reel of 5 of the names that have popped to the top of your head. First, how you doing, my man? Thanks for joining us.
Dude, it's good to be here. It's finally awesome to see all of you guys. I've met several of you guys not that long ago. So honestly, having an opportunity to see everyone here is great. But we got to talk about Academy. We don't have that much time. I want to talk about a couple players we just saw in our clip, right? Like, all of you guys know who Olleh is. He played for Team Liquid on the LCS stage when the core JJ was having some issues. But the other one we really got to touch on before we talk about some of our other Academy talent, Busio. If you guys don't know who this is, you guys will know about him really soon. 100 Thieves Academy, looked really, really strong. Has been boot camping in Korea, and we've barely even gotten to see him in Academy, but you better bet your butt that he's going to be in LCS in 2023.
100 Thieves have already had a hot start to their Academy split. Raz, what are your thoughts, just real quick, on a player like Busio and just generally 100 Thieves and the investment they've made in developing players?
Yeah, it was quite an investment because I remember that he made that role swap from mid lane to support position because they had a lot of faith in his his own mechanics. And then he made that swap. Kind of reminds me hilariously enough about Huhi, who made that transition to the support role. And his champion pool's really solid. The amount of skill that he had. Remember, in the last split, if I remember correctly, he was with Kenvi, and at that time, Tenacity wasn't playing, but that roster would have been sick. Gamsu was on the roster at that time, so really strong player, and I agree with him. Yeah.
Of course, when you're second string to a player like Huhi, you're really going to have to make a strong case if you want to take that spot. Otherwise, other teams should be looking at Busio to maybe rip him away from 100 Thieves for their rosters in the future. From here, though, Joshi, I want to pull you back into the conversation around the Academy players that have already made the jump up to the LCS, and we saw 3 in particular yesterday on the stage that I want to talk about. Philip, Kenvi, Dokla. Who do you want to start with out of those 3?
Let's start with Dokla, right? We're talking about good moves in the offseason. Dokla coming up. He was our most valuable prospect coming out of the Academy. And I know that takes a lot of people by surprise. I'm sure you guys were already talking about it. This guy was playing in LCS years ago, and he wasn't that good. So what's up? Like, why is he still here and looking? And it's because, I mean, if you guys have been watching, he's made so much progress, right? You guys were talking yesterday about the mentality this guy has, the process-oriented thought process that he has in order to, like, figure out how his improvement works. And I gotta say, like, the system works. All of our old players have opportunities to come back. He's not the only one. Gamsu just did the same thing. And going up against CLG, like you guys already looked at, kind of smashed.
Really quickly, while we still have you here, I wanted to get your thoughts on Philip, because I thought, like, he's someone coming in that definitely was not as hyped, right? I talked to his coaches. They're like, he might struggle in lane, but I think his team fighting is really good. And he had a really great Camille engage yesterday, right? So what did you think of his debut?
Honestly, this was way better than I think a lot of us were expecting. I was talking with Cubby and Kelsey while we were watching this game, and we were all just kind of expecting, yeah, Philip, he's probably going to struggle. He wasn't the top laner that we were expecting to have an opportunity to play in LCS first, but he goes up against Licorice. He has the Camille into the Gnar. That's a tough matchup. 10 minutes, he's dead on even, right? Like, seeing how well he's actually playing is really, really cool. But I remember him from a long time ago when he was playing with Radiance, and seeing how quickly he's grown is really cool, and I can't wait to see more of how he plays.
There you go. I know you as a Philip enjoyer there, Joshi, from your time in the Academy. What do you enjoy about him the most?
My baby boy. Honestly, my favorite thing, I talked about it very briefly with Radiance, right? I first came across him when he was playing with players like Bluster and Shochi, and he was just dragging them across the finish line over and over. He was oftentimes the only person in the amateur scene who was like having a good game. And that's why I was so excited about him. Seeing like the killer instinct that he can have has been really refreshing at the lower levels. And now playing with players who are just miles better, I think he's got a lot of room to grow. And I gotta say, I'm a big fan. I want to see him do well, and the fact that he's able to go head-to-head with Licorice on his first day, great stuff.
It's a great showing day one. One more player to talk about, and we'd be remiss not to, only because somewhat, in a contrasting fashion to Philip, this is a player who had a lot of hype around him coming into the split, and that's Kenvi for Immortals. And a rough draft to deal with. But let's talk about this guy, because I think there's definitely something to be said for different Academy players who enter the league with different expectations.
Look, I know you guys were just talking about it again, right? This is not where we're expecting Immortals to end up, but it feels like the story of Team Liquid versus Immortals so far this split. Team Liquid Academy speed ran Immortals Academy in 18 minutes and 37 seconds earlier this week. And then Team Liquid LCS, perfect games Immortals on the LCS stage. There's something going on between these two orgs that we're not privy to, but as you already looked at, guys, right? Like, this is not what we're expecting Kenvi to end up as. PoE got in the night before, right? He didn't really have time to practice with the team whatsoever. And so, while this was a bit of a rough start, this is not what we know Kenvi is going to do. When we start seeing him go back to things like the Viego, when we see his Kindred come out, you're going to start recognizing why this is a player that we've been talking about for years.
I know Emily's been popping off about the Kindred, so didn't get it on the bingo card yesterday. Maybe we can complete that today. Joshi, thank you so much for joining us, giving us that Academy insight. I'm sure we'll be having you on future broadcasts as well as we get more of those players hopping up to the big leagues. With that, though, that's it for Waiting Room. It's time for us to get into the show. Roll that open. Welcome back to the LCS, ahead of the first game of the day, which sports Cloud9 up against Golden Guardians. Sorry, I was looking behind me because I saw Team Liquid and that almost threw me for a loop there. It's another blue team. Both teams still hungry for that first win of summer, though Cloud9 still looked solid in their game, and of course are still dealing with not their full roster. But let's talk about that showing yesterday against EG.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty back and forth game. I think EG was in decent control the entire time, but when you watch how that game was going, the scaling, how the teams were going to interact, it was a 4-1 split comp versus just a straight team fight comp, and they got off the ground, they got Fudge ahead, and Jensen was playing well on the victor. He had an insane damage percent, a lot of kills, and it was just some late game team fights that went in EG's favor.
Exactly, that's why, you know, we're certainly positive about Cloud9, was the fact that the two changes that came through of Jensen and Fudge were positive ones in this game. And the comps were really interesting. It was a first good look of what the meta would look like in the LCS, and I really enjoyed what Cloud9 was able to do in a losing match versus
this
EG.
play.
Yeah, I've made no secret about how much I really liked C9's comp in this, actually, and especially Fudge picking the Fiora, right?
Yes.
Because obviously, I've been pretty critical of, in particular, top lanes in North America not going for these kind of counter matchups. And overall, as we were talking about the meta yesterday, those first few games, we joked about how Flowers was losing his mind. There weren't a lot of early kills. Guys, it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
I promise. Yesterday, we saw Knight play Brand mid. It's the first win that Brand mid has had in a major region since 2012 spring in OGN Champions. Not the last time it was played, but the last time it had a win.
Gotcha. Okay.
As a mid laner.
And that's what we want. We want to see it win. We don't want to see it come out and lose.
And obviously, like in the LPL, you see a lot more of these like counter matchups. So I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be that way.
Well,
like, it really doesn't.
Show people the light.
A lot of people feel that way, especially when they watch the LPL. Dominate as well was tweeting this, like, guys, you don't have to farm to 15. The combined kills per minute's down. The average game time is up. And I think what Emily and I want out of teams is, like, you can still experiment in this meta. Fudge with the Fiora, heavy use of counter picks. Like, that was into Swain specifically, that Knight picked the brand. And, like, you can still experiment in the meta, and we want to congratulate teams that do this. People like Dokla as well being able to
absolutely.
G2 earlier today, right before this, had an insane draft.
That was such a fun comp.
And what's funny is earlier in the day, it was like the Ornn versus Sejuani top. Like, you don't have to draft that way. You don't have to scale.
Especially on red side, if you want to see success off of it, you have to be taking advantage of the counter matchups that you're picking for. Like, at times, it could feel more beneficial to go for a support counter pick matchup so you can get pushed there. But especially this meta right now, top lane seems to be the go-to for. Fiora is the pick we're highlighting here. Kayle is a pick we're seeing a lot in the LPL and LCK that certainly we should be seeing more. And I know it's just week 1, but like just in general in Academy, I haven't been seeing too much as well. So like, would love to see more of those options if you can see a possibility of it succeeding.
Even like the Olaf top from Bwipo yesterday, right? And then the Yone from Dokla, we saw G2 play that earlier today as well.
Not going to get over that E damage.
I was about to say,
dude, that bot lane fight where he's just running around murking kids. It was so gross. Yes, more of that, please. I have to assume that the game will speed up and that there will be more counter picks as the weeks go on and people just figure out kind of those limits and which matchups they can test.
You're crossing your fingers.
What is that?
I'm saying you're crossing my fingers.
That was a literal, like, is that a new show signal that everyone wants to talk?
I don't need to talk. I'm just
There
crossing
are
my
two
fingers.
angles for this, but I want to hear from Mark.
Oh, I was going to say, I think especially for C9, given that their bot lane is still missing for this game, they don't have Sven and Berserker right now. Like, go experiment in the top half of your map. Try and find some advantages in maybe more volatile situations.
There's certainly going to be more opportunities once they get more used to the patch to dive and all these things. The alternative reality is that once a team recognizes, okay, we have a split push win condition, we should just do nothing until we have that win, like 3 items set on Fiora or something
game's
like
getting
that.
longer. NASA's Kayle farmed.
There it is. That's the reality.
Forever. Okay, let's flip to the other side of the matchup because while we were satisfied to a degree with Cloud9's performance yesterday, even while missing a couple of their intended pieces, Golden Guardians left, I think, a lot to be desired for a lot of people in their loss yesterday.
Yeah, this was a really sad game because this was the classic. We are starting to lose, so we're doing nothing until Soul fight, and then we died. Like, we got picked on Soul, so now we're just losing everything without really putting up much of a fight. And these are the type of games that you certainly don't want to see, where you have a losing bot side mid matchup as well early. And so I think FlyQuest did a great job in stacking Drakes and forcing them to pick something, and Golden Guardians did in that one. They'll probably regret not picking making a play happen.
Yeah, it started off that one like Ablazeolive getting caught out of position, and that was something he had issues with last split, was his kind of like isolated deaths early pre-15 minutes. I hope that's not a continuing trend in summer, because when you start off on the back foot, then you start playing more passive because you're like, we'll scale, and then you just start seeding objectives, and that was just not a game one you wanted to see.
And because they were so passive, another thing that happened is Jose Diodo was able to bring out the Udyr, right? And just be like, okay, well, if all people are going to do is scale, I'm just going to sprint around the map because my clear speed is so fast. And so I thought that and the pushing bot lane were also another reason why, like, oh, we have this big point of pressure that we can play around early.
That was something that I'm kind of concerned with when it comes to, you know, what Pridestalkr is willing to blind pick for jungle, was that the Udyr was a great response. He was able to clear out his jungle much faster, match Xin Zhao so he didn't find a play, and then actually take his Krug's bot side too. So he was just more ahead of the matchup.
Yeah.
So if Xin Zhao is not able to really impact the lane, he's clearly going to descale in at least in, I guess in that comp, they're hoping on their bot side to really be the one that's the scaling element. But I just thought that the Udyr was far more effective.
I think the only other tidbit I'd add is in the top lane, I would have expected more out of a player like Licorice, considering his matchup and opponent, right? So,
well,
what?
Hopefully today he bounces back, because he's not beat Cloud9 since he left them still. The curse is still going.
Which is how many years?
I don't know.
3 years at this point, right?
I think he's played a handful of times.
Okay, yeah,
It's
that's
not
fine.
negligible.
We'll see if he can get the matchup today. He's back up against Fudge. We'll see. You got predictions, I hope.
I submitted them.
You were given homework.
Yeah.
So as long as you submitted them, they will show up on this screen. Let's go down the line. Cloud9, Golden Guardians.
Oh,
who's it going to be?
Oh, wow. Okay, they're just flashing it. I said Cloud9 because, obviously. We talked about their top side, and, like, in talking about Jensen, one thing we didn't talk about was Blaber. They obviously are still working really well together. We wanted to know how they play around that top side with Fudge. I think even with their intended bot lane missing, the way that those three were playing together was really great.
And the caliber matchup is much different than yesterday. I mean, you're going up against the returning champion in Evil Geniuses, and I felt like that was the highest quality match that we saw yesterday. This one's going to be a step down, and it should be Cloud9 sweeping it.
My peers did a great job breaking that down.
There it is. What can we say?
Thank you, Mark, for everything that you always add to our conversations. It will be a tall task for Golden Guardians here up against Cloud9. We'll see if they can get it done. As we head to the arena, though, we celebrate a decade of the LCS and usher in the next era for North America.
Start of the League of Legends Championship Series. This is a groundbreaking moment in League history.
Revolutions aren't built in a day.
They come up from the dirt. They bloom from the depths of defeat.
To dethrone Cloud9 as the North American champion. Quadra-kill and amazing play by Phoenix on Azeal. Let's go. Get well to the
A new era has been summoned.
And this time, we won't hold back.
The ones who will ignite our spark.
Oh my God! Elder Dragon!
Who will bring the uprising of our fame. Who will unleash hell to take what is not given.
Hello and welcome to the LCS Arena for day 2 of the Summer Split. I am Phreak, that is Azeal. What are we?
Zoocasters.
The Duck Duo! We are the Duck Duo. Hello and welcome. I'm excited to be here for my first games of the Split. I think you cast yesterday.
I did.
Sure. You did.
And
so
I cast tomorrow.
That's wow, you get 3 days.
Yeah.
They just like you more than me,
That's
which
true.
we already knew, but it's been reinforced by the casting assignments. This is going to be fun, though. So both teams are 0-1. Cloud9 dropped a game. By the way, they are an OPL legal team with their 3 Australian players. They've got Blaber and Jensen as imports. So it's cool to see, we saw Cloud9 versus the OPL back in MSI before. Now we get to see it again firsthand. It's very exciting. Awesome to see as well, of course, but that's fair, But that's good enough, though. I think Cloud9 are likely to win.
Another sign. Cloud9 are the favorites for sure, but we have to remember, as they just dropped out, so I think we're going to have to get a champ select restart. Someone dropped out of the lobby. But yeah, they're not playing with their intended starting roster. So yes, they did lose yesterday. It was actually a very close game. It was, I want to say, our longest game of the day. It was like 45 minutes or thereabouts. Obviously up against EG. Fudge really impressed me on the Fiora. His team fighting on it was really, really nice. I thought that was a game that they were going to have to win through sides, and they kind of almost proved me wrong. Being able to join in those fights and actually scrap pretty effectively against them. King Destiny, I thought were solid, but not standout. And it is a team that maybe is going to take a little bit more time to get going because they haven't been able to practice with all their pieces. And they don't have their full and started roster. But on the other side, Golden Guardians, I think, will be disappointed with their first showing and should be disappointed, honestly. It was not the kind of start that they wanted to the split. I know that they have pretty high expectations. Give this match trophy, cream cheese, let's go. FLICKR is actually really funny, by the way.
It's
if
a great
you haven't
show.
watched it, you should really check it out. It's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, Golden Guardians not having the kind of start that they wanted, right? They went up against FlyQuest yesterday. They really kind of just conceded almost all objectives throughout the game. And by the time they did try to fight, they were so far down that they didn't really have a fighting chance. So want to see them to be a little bit more proactive today, a little bit more aggressive. I know that teams are very keen to actually play for scaling in this meta, but you still have to be fighting over objectives. You still have to be fighting for these advantages.
Yeah, I think that discussion around what is the correct way to play the game on this set of patches, and then as a second step in the meta game of what your opponents are playing, is really important right now. So I know something we were talking about yesterday because I was in yesterday chatting. Is Lucian is 100% pick ban across all 4 big leagues. As of last night, it was 0-1 in the LCK, 0-1 in the LEC, and 3-8 in the LPL. So high priority, but actually hadn't been winning games.
100% win rate in LCS.
100% win rate in the LCS.
Players in the world here.
Right. But that's really interesting, right? Because every team in the world is afraid of and will ban or pick Lucian. And by the way, the blue side, red side pick rate is 12-1. He's first picked or banned, right? But he lost so much, so it's Golden Guardian's well, he's not actually that good. We'll go Zeri, we'll scale. I think they had losing lanes in all 3 lanes, tried to outscale or tried to do nothing, as you pointed out, and just got run over.
And I mean, I will say, to caveat a little bit, or to play devil's advocate a little bit, on some of your Lucian stats, I do think one of the things you have to take into consideration when a champion is 100% presence, often when it's left through with a specific counter pick or answer in mind, right? They're only going to let the Lucian through if they feel that they have this winning lane. We've kind of heard those types of stories before. It doesn't always work out, and I do think also, as you said, they drafted losing lanes, they drafted a lot of powerful scaling, but they weren't really able to get there. So we'll see if they're going to be able to draft some winning lanes for Pridestalkr to play around. He went with the Xin Zhao in that game, was up against Udyr, so he was kind of getting, a slower clearing jungler.
Outfarm.
And when you have nowhere to gank and you're clearing more slowly, well, guess what? You're going to lose a lot of dragons, and that's kind of what happened to them yesterday. So we'll see if they can look a little bit better here against Cloud9.
Yeah, very curious what the style ends up being here for these teams. Golden Guardians still think Zeri is highly prized. This is, of course, with the micropatch changes after the nerfs in 12-11, so I would, in general, for people at home, a relatively balanced champion, clearly high prized in pro play. Lucian actually banned on the blue side for Cloud9. Senna off table here as well.
A lot of marksmen.
Yeah, the C9 duo lane actually played Senna, Tahm, Kench in their opener here for King and Destiny. Now that Senna's gone, I guess they can leave up Corki. He won't walk into packages anymore. And Karma Ezreal out the table as well.
Exactly. The Karma to me is like an Ezreal ban, right? So it's actually really interesting. It's almost like 5 targeted marksman bans. Sure, we could get Ezreal paired separately from the Karma, but over the last quite a while, that's really the only time you've kind of been seeing it prioritized. So it is interesting, and we'll see, is it going to be yet another ban down towards bot lane to really push these people off comfort? and try to maybe open up the kind of champions that we're going to see. Of course, there's still a lot of mainstays available, things like Jhin, things like Aphelios, like Jinx, like there's tons of options. Xayah, of course.
Ooh, and even a Gragas ban there. So Jinx is going to be up and locked in here for King, Cloud9. I did see Sven in here today.
I think he just arrived.
Yeah, but yeah, I saw him outside with Cloud9. I think they were getting like COVID checked or something, but I saw him as he went to get lunch. So I know Sven physically is here, but yeah, maybe next week. I don't know. Maybe they want to wait till Berserker's here, but he is at least physically here.
Yep. So that's good for them. But of course, today will be King and Destiny. So Jinx first pick, Wukong up. Seems like a pretty obvious answer. Pridestalkr, I know, has been playing it a lot in Champions Queue. Does really like these kind of farming, scaling junglers. Does tend to prioritize camps over, lane pressure from my experience in watching him. And I do think Wukong is a champion that scales fairly well, can be a strong team fighter, especially when you are playing ahead of the curve, can really be dangerous in those 5v5s. We'll see what they want to pair alongside it, if it's going to be, more dive, more of that type of pressure. Xayah. Okay, so Aphelios, it's almost like back to last spring. Yes, there was a lot of marksman bans to get us there, but it's Jinx Aphelios.
Yeah. We are back to Jinx Aphelios. Someone look for
Lillia.
Ooh, I like this. So Lillia. Oh, this is really fun. So we are back to exciting picks. We spoke, Shock spoke with Broken Blade at the post-game lobby of LEC just about 40 minutes ago, and he was saying, I don't think the game really should be played slowly. Yes, champions are tankier, but I think its teams aren't yet comfortable on stage. He thinks, the right way to play is actually a bit more aggressive. I mean, they played Yone Yasuo, right?
Diana,
and they clapped. He was a great Yone. We saw CLG, Dokla did great on Yone. And so we've seen him, I think, as a top and a mid laner so far this year. Lillia, exceptional top laner as well. You can flex her jungle if you want. I think generally if you're a melee champion, she's going to clap that matchup so they can kind of wait and see what happens.
Yeah, and I do really like Yone as a pick, especially first round, because it is flexible, right? You can go mid or top. Yone is one of the scaling picks that I do think is kind of seen as more aggressive, but it is to me like the melee version of the Azeals and of the Corkis and stuff, where you really want to scale, you really want to get your items, you're exceptional in the late game if you can get there. And I do think the durability update helped him quite a lot. It's harder to punish this guy early on in the lane, so he has a lot better matchups. It's less about dominating them, it's more about scaling, getting those items. Can be really strong on white item. We saw Blade the Rune King rush from Broken Blade, which was a little bit of a different take. Traditionally, I have seen mostly just shield bow rush, though sometimes people do try to go for the more aggressive options, Gale Force to get the additional range and things like that. But generally, you are just seeing more of like early Zeal into shield bow, IE third, that type of play.
Well, see which build he goes for in this game, or it's going to be Jensen. But Fudge and Jensen both, I thought, really impressed. Fudge, I know you mentioned it earlier on, looked really, really good yesterday.
And they clearly think that this is jungle and mid, right? Because it's double top lane ban here, from the Golden Guardian side, banning out both the GP and the Sejuani. Sejuani plus Yone, obviously a pretty good pairing if they actually wanted to move that into the jungle as well and have, Jensen piloting the Yone mid. But 4 top lane bans, so really trying to limit the pool. It also makes me wonder, is it actually more likely to be a Lillia top or a Yone top now? Because if Cloud9, are comfortable bringing one of those champions top lane, you've actually just spent a lot of bans towards top on the side of Golden Guardians, and those would be kind of useless at that point.
My instinct, I don't know either matchup very hard, but I feel like Fiora looks pretty good into Lillia. All of her important skills, the W, the R, are very telegraphed, easy to riposte. Gwen, probably fast enough to actually fight the champion pretty well, so that could still look at that. I'm not certain, though. Yone in the same boat, by the way. His CC is also very telegraphed. Very easy for you to play around that as well.
It's also totally possible that they're just expecting that, hey, we have to blind our top here on 4, so we're going to go tank top, and then, ban out some of these scaling duelists that can do a fair bit of true damage there. Obviously, Fiora does a tremendous amount. We saw that Fudge actually picked that, into a tank matchup yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, and it is summer. Cloud9 known for the tank tops, and it's going to be Ornn. So, Fudge, I thought you were the best player on Cloud9 yesterday, and you've got Ornn duty, my dude, as they ban away some of the skirmishers on the top side, and we'll see if Licorice can find a counterpick he likes up there.
I think it makes sense, though, honestly, right? This does give them more of a primary engage, and you have the follow-up from the Yone, or even the Yone goes in first, Ornn to follow that up. You have the Lillia sleep, and it gives them options for enchanter supports down in the bot lane, because you need some sort of primary engage. Looking towards the Lulu makes even more sense. So I do really like the draft. I think they have an incredibly strong 5v5. They scale very, very well. The early aggressive options, I think, are quite limited, unless there is kind of an overextension. But Lillia is pretty happy just power farming, right? You know, this is a champion that's very fast clear in the jungle, so not that big of a deal. And we'll see what the option is going to be here for Licorice. A lot of these aggressive counters are already taken off the table, so it could just be something like a Gnar. But Kayle would be really nice here. It's not as funny as it sounds, it's not that easy into Ornn early, but post 6, you know, you definitely are comfortable. You have to pay some respect if the Ornn is going to play Spellbook and Ignite. You do have to look out a little bit for that all in, especially if the jungler does get up there. But this is a strong scaling pick. One of my concerns, though, with Kayle into this composition is, you know, Kayle, I think, does have exceptional scaling, but you are limited by your range. And like Jinx, Lulu, you know, the engage range from champions like the Yone, from champions like the Ornn can make it actually difficult. And oftentimes, you know, when you are trying to close that gap, Polymorph is incredibly effective against you as well. So range is often the limiting factor for Kayle. That being said, if Kayle can stand in fire, you know, you're going to put out a tremendous amount of DPS in later stages of the game. If you can be locked in that 1v1 long term against the Ornn, you really can start to take advantage of that. So going to be excited to see how he is able to perform on this. It's also great when paired up with the Wukong. The offensive ult, I think, is much more powerful than the defensive. Send the Wukong into the middle of the team, drop the Kayle ultimate, let him go nuts.
It's going to be exciting here. Cloud9 and Golden Guardians here to play their second game of the split. We've got a Kayle in the top lane, Fudge back in top where he belongs. Let's get it. Game 1 starts now. To Summoner's Rift, and we've got Kayle in the top lane. Now, Azeal, we have played probably a 2 dozen games on live together between FlexQ and normals. You
Way
played
more than that. All time?
Oh, well, okay, over the last like year and a half.
Okay.
Okay. You've played Kayle, and I would say more than half of them.
I like a lot of Kayle. I like a lot of the scaling top laners.
Yeah. So my question basically is, because I feel like people say, oh, it's Kayle, late game bomb. Oh my gosh, like she gets level 16 and you like win the game.
Yeah.
I want, on a scale of like 1 to Azeal and then beyond Azeal, like what is level 16 Kayle?
I mean, I think it's really compositional based. That is my honest opinion, is that people just kind of put it in this bucket with some of the other hyperscaling champions where it's just like generically strong late game. I think it's more to do with the composition than it is to do just like generically strong. Like, can you put out enormous amounts of DPS at 16? Absolutely. It's one of the highest DPS champions in the game. But as I said, I think a lot of it is to do with, are you outranged or not? Because if you are outranged, it can be very difficult. You know, if Jinx gets a rocket or two on you before you're able to actually get in range to attack, you can early force a defensive ultimate. If you're forcing defensive ultimates, well, guess what? Kayle's not auto-attacking during the cast time of that, which is a 1.5 seconds, if memory serves me correct. Of course, as you get later in the game, the ultimate lasts longer, so you do get some time to attack. But yeah, I mean, I think against this composition, you're going to be really effective in the 1v1 against Ornn later on. But barring that, you know, you're really looking to hit like the Ornn and the Lillia, and he's going to have to play well to actually dodge the early engage and then hit the front line. You know, you're looking less to attack the Jinx, more to attack the Yone, the Lillia, and the Ornn. So we'll see how he's going to match up. But Fleet Footwork, you know, paying a lot of respect, I think, to the fact that it can actually be somewhat of a difficult matchup early on. You know, it's not the hardest by any means. I'm not trying to overstate Ornn's early power, but Spellbook Ornn can provide some threat, and Licorice going D-Shield and going Fleet instead of something like Lethal Tempo or PTA clearly shows that he's paying some respect to, hey, there could be some pressure in the early game.
Yeah, for sure. Because, yeah, press the attack, Lethal Tempo, as you're mentioning, are clearly like the core DPS options if you're trying to kill in team fights, but this is survival.
Or even in the side lane later on, right?
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely matters. And move speed, of course, pretty relevant as well. Wanted to point out, when Jensen started his lane, he actually sat in front of Raptors and got 2 charges of Q off before laning. So that while he's fighting for the first wave, he has a bit of extra damage throughout the knockup, so you can Q into auto to help him trade back against LeBlanc. It's a really minor optimization, but it's basically just always correct to try, like in case it's a fight. Oh, cool, I have a knockup here, and it's an easy, like, cross your T's, dot your I's, it costs you nothing. And your lane's that very little bit stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it can make getting the push a little bit more difficult for LeBlanc. You know, if you're trying to sidestep instead of just spam auto-attacking, if you are going for last hits, you know, you can have that prepped Q to try to interrupt or harass on that. Yone, relatively strong laner here, does have, a pretty easy build in towards some sustain that is going to help you with that lane, assuming we are going towards Shield Bow or Blade of the Rune King like we saw earlier today in the LEC. But we'll see how he's going to be able to hang on. He is playing TP, so of course, looking more to just kind of farm out this lane. I think there's a lot more pressure on Ablazeolive playing the Ignite LeBlanc to really kind of have some sort of a pressure, whether it's just unlocking Pridestalkr to get things done and take objectives, or it is setting up for kills.
Maybe even trying. Had jumped the wall. 7 camps for both junglers. You want to hit your recall in about 5 seconds. You want to be on time for your second camp spawn, or relatively soon anyway. It's about 4 minutes when they come up, and you got to walk down there. So Pridestalkr going to go ahead and finally knock his 7th camp down. Of course, Wukong does not clear as fast as Lillia, but there's his deep ward, there's the recall. Shouldn't be terribly late for his Krug, shouldn't be a big deal. But you can see that Blaber already on the map, ready for his romp. He'll face a ward when he does so, but will have a very slight tempo lead.
Yep, Fudge doing pretty well here up on the top side, but Licorice, your job really is just to survive. If you're farming even and getting towards 6 at a pretty comfortable time, that's when you can start to actually do things in this matchup.
Big damage on the bottom side. Destiny 100 health! The Ignite tick will kill him! First blood comes through for Olleh.
Well played by Stixxay and Olleh. Destiny not using the exhaust at all there. Wonder if it would have made the difference. Not sure how much damage Olleh actually got out onto him, but didn't end up using it. And now Pridestalkr coming down. They're going to look to try to set up the dive here onto King, who will have to potentially respect this.
I don't know if he got... Oh, actually, the Trinket Ward over his Gromp might have seen his pathing, because I think he probably passed through Gromp instead of pathing through, like, the side of mid lane. So they saw him skip and go down. Now he's going to start his camp up. Yeah, he's behind Lillia, but it was a worthy attempt. Ultimately denies some XP off of Destiny.
Yeah, it denies a little bit of XP, and it gets him a free plate, right? So I do think it's a worthy try. Good deep ward there to help protect that. But early plays going the way of Golden Guardians, winning out in that 2v2 pretty heavily. Blaber's just going to show up mid. Looks like just helping him to push this out. They're not exactly sure if Wukong could be coming towards mid, I think.
I think he also knows he can get chickens.
Raptors, yeah.
Right? He's like, you cut a camp to go down here. I know I have timing in this one. 5 minutes for Raptors is very, very common timing. It's up, and he's like...
Kind of risky, though.
Yeah, he's able to smite it. He knew that, Pridestalkr was probably still going to be on Wolves. Like, that's a very heads-up play where he's like, I'm not under threat. You're not skipping Wolves to get Raptors here. It's very heads-up, and he steals 90 gold away from his enemy jungler.
Yeah, well done. I mean, he's ahead in experience as well. I was a little bit surprised with Jensen going back to base that he still felt comfortable, being that, Ablazeolive was there. But Jensen does have TP, so he arrives back, and clearly he had the correct read on the matter. That Pridestalkr wouldn't be skipping Wolves and coming over to Raptors to defend or anything like that, so gets out scot-free. Licorice now hitting 6, so he is ranged at this point. It's really 11 that I always feel like that you actually get strong. 6, you start to be able to kind of participate.
You're
in the
a real
game.
champion at 6, yeah.
6, you're a ranged minion, Free 6, you're a melee minion. Yeah. Now you're a ranged minion.
Hey, give him credit. He's a cannon minion at 6, okay? He's tanky with the ultimate.
That's true.
It's worth at least 90 gold by that point in time.
A nice movement from Ablazeolive there, though, dodging out on Jensen's ulti. Looks like they will just go up towards topside, help to secure that scuttle, get the push there on top, and early call here for Licorice. He knows that it's just going to be about the farming. Going to be interested to see where he goes. I am expecting just like, I think that AP is much stronger than some of the kind of like AD builds that we've seen. Sometimes people do go Kraken, but I tend to think that Nashor's is like almost always the best first item. Nashor's Riftmaker, I think third item is kind of dealer's choice depending on what you are concerned about. I think Deathcap, Lichbane, Zhonya's, depending on the game, like all these can work. But I really do feel pretty strongly that the first 2 items, like almost always, should just be Nashor's Riftmaker.
Yep. That's what I've seen as well there. It looks pretty solid. There's a smite. I want to shout out Dark Tech of Cosmic Drive third. Just a ton of move speed, tends to be a pretty powerful thing as well. And a bunch of haste for your ultimate being up all the time. Certainly can be relevant. We're on the way to Gale Force or Kraken there for Stixxay. No shield bow needed for him. Waiting to see what King wants to grab overall. Is just fighting for the minions back and forth down here. Very small lead to Golden Guardians. Keep in mind, the kill went to Tahm Kench, so only a 200 gold gift given to Stixxay off that one, so not as much as first blood would normally.
Yeah, not as big of a deal for sure. Getting an early mythic on support is still nice, but it's really not the end of the world. Wasn't King that went down either. He still has his summoners available. Jensen, nice little bit of trading there with the E. It's very hard to actually trade back into the E once Yone gets up on you, especially if he's pretty separated from where the stab back is. Blaber coming in here, does have ultimate available.
Slows, able to just get away in time, not to be rooted in place, and Blaber not going to find anything else either as Stixxay pushes him away. A couple of shots come back, so Olleh stays alive, and that is an exhaust burn for nothing. Well done, Golden Guardians.
Yeah, Golden Guardians doing really well in this 2v2 and even the 2v3 there. As Blaber was just, I think, trying to go for a little bit of a drive-by gank there, help them fix the wave somewhat, but Golden Guardians on the other side of the map will be able to take Herald as a response, so things looking really good for them thus far.
That's actually kind of wild. Like, I feel like, okay, hold on. We got Jensen looking for a little bit of something here. Won't be trading too heavily, but gets some damage across. Shouldn't really even be stealable as well. Fudge is spellbook over to Ignite anyway. So the chant, okay, yep, good smite, gets it in time, no problems down there. Well done, Golden Guardians. Somehow a Kayle team got first Herald, which I feel like is just so rare.
Yeah, I mean, Blaber attempting to make that gank happen on the bot side. You know, maybe they're calling for it. You know, maybe they felt that they need to kind of like fix the wave or need a little bit of cover there. Either way, he goes down towards bot. As soon as the bowling ball doesn't connect, you know, you're probably not going to get the ultimate. You're not just going to straight up flash in on their face because I think they can turn on you pretty easily at that point. But had he connected on that, there may have been the opportunity for a kill. So goes for it. Will go back towards this top side, though, and taking away another camp. Going to be able to steal away the red. Already got the Raptors once. The Raptors are there, but with Jensen back in base and no TP available, that would be a little bit too much in Blaber's mind.
Yep, you can see FTX total gold here. Stixxay and Licorice are the gold leaders of the game. Somehow, Kayle is the second gold leader. Okay, temporarily. Second gold leader in the game. Blaber obviously farming very well. Again, he stole the camp and now just stole a red, so he is off to the races, and that's great. She's a really strong team fighter. I think her scaling is quite good as well, but I mean, just impressive that Aphelios and Kayle, who are, I would argue, maybe the two best late game champions in this draft,
yeah,
are the highest in gold.
I think that's definitely a fair argument. You know, I think, you know, Jinx is obviously really strong, you know, Ornn in kind of a different way.
Sure.
But, you know, I'm more impressed with the 2v2 because, you know, they actually, you know, were able to kind of create that advantage. Top side, I think that Licorice has done well, but it's kind of just been even farming, you know, hasn't been too much pressure put out there. And if you get to level 6 without getting ganked, you're going to be able to farm this one out, you know, even going towards Cole now. So we'll see if he can continue to keep that farm up as Pridestalkr showing up mid here. Seeing if there's anything to grab, just going to help reset the wave. Seems like that's mostly been what the jungle pressure has been for this game. You know, less about looking for kills and more just helping to fix waves.
Pretty good damage here to Jensen. Chooses correctly, I believe, on the correct one. Keep in mind that, yeah, if you get the mark on as Yone, marks things like press the attack and whatnot don't, like, clone to the clone. So if you're paying attention to the debuffs you have an opponent, I know which one's real. Okay, always the correct one. And even if you try to, you know, juke it, I sent the clone back. No, I can see the thing over your head.
Yep, and Jensen had a pretty strong point for Yone. You get the early Azeal. He could be in some trouble here. Has the ulti.
Has to flash. Yeah, Q ult would have been a kill. Close to dead, but I believe has enough shielding. Ignite should not kill. Blaber there for good measure. Ablazeolive loses all summoners and does not knock back Jensen.
Yeah, it looked like Jensen had a buffer on the R. You know, he was mashing ER, so the flash came through a little bit before, so he could have actually held that potentially to actually go forward with the E, wait to see if there's reaction, then look for the ulti. Either way, it's still a great trade for Cloud9 and for Jensen, trading out that ulti, getting both summoners now off of Ablazeolive, who's gonna have very little kill pressure, you know, for this next couple minutes without that ignite.
But as items come in, we see ourselves the Gale Force, and we also get the build towards Nash's Tooth here for the Kayle with Merc Treads to be anti-CC. Lillia certainly can be a threat. The Whimsy from Lulu, very relevant as well. 2 plates down to the bottom lane, so Golden Guardians, a 14 CS lead, a kill lead, a 2-plate lead. First Dragon, next one spawns in 30. Night and day from yesterday's Golden Guardians, where they lost every single lane and played for 0 objectives. This one, they're actually doing very well in all of them. And so far, 2-0 on that mark.
Yeah, they're looking really strong. I mean, Stixxay out to a really nice advantage here. You know, with that early Mythic on Aphelios, it's such a nice spike on this champion, and we'll see if they can continue to press that advantage. You can see Pridestalkr already down around the dragon here on the map, looking like they want to try to set up for this. You know, they have a couple of these nice deep wards in the enemy jungle, and going to be able to start that right on spawn, grabbing that second early dragon. Oh, that was a lot of damage, actually, with the Electrocute proc. You can see the Sork Boots coming through there. Last buy from Ablazeolive. Spell Pen early here against no MR is going to make a big difference.
Definitely does. Keep in mind the durability buffs for MR were all in scaling stats. So at level 7, 8, 9, it's not that much yet. And the Flat Pen still does pretty well here. Early Smite, and that is second Drake secured onto Hextech Soul. The gates have unlocked. Make sure you get around the map faster with those. Should look good. So far, Golden Guardians, I mean, they're poised for a 23-minute Dragon Soul.
Yeah.
With the, you know, by the way, Kayle's level 10. We're going. Looking good so far.
They are looking really, really good. And, you know, you have to kind of wonder, is Cloud9's read that, like, we actually just have the better scaling, we have the better 5v5 later on, so we're not concerned? Because you are expecting them to probably try to challenge here at third Dragon, unless they just think that there's no way that they can win that fight. But, you know, now 2K ahead. Oh, gonna whiff on the ulti, has to flash back.
Flashes the chain, didn't want to get chained under the turret, it looks like, but that is Jensen down a summoner spell for the fight he wanted. That Ablazeolive just simply sidestepped.
Yep, thought he had the angle there to actually get the kill. And if he connects with the ult, maybe he does, but as soon as that misses, he has to flash out. As you said, doesn't want to get chained under tower there, would be very, very punishing, but Jensen looking for the aggressive move here, not going to get anything from it. Jinx, Lulu still scaling very well on that bottom side is Kraken Slayer. You know, no surprise there for King as the attack speed is just, I think, so valuable. The Mythic passive is really, really nice on Jinx. A lot of people do like Gale Force as well. You know, if there's something in particular you're trying to dodge out from, I think it can be pretty valuable, but it doesn't feel like there's anything amazing to try to dodge here.
Maybe Wukong, like if you really screw up a Tahm Kench W, but yeah, I feel like you're pretty safe to go Kraken and just play backline. You have a Lulu for safety. Like you do, like the amount of damage you lose by going Gale Force over Kraken is very substantial.
Yep.
And you've got a Lulu on your team. You should be fine and just able to DPS, so go do 20% more damage, which is probably the right call. So very defensible here. Stixxay, Licorice, Pridestalkr, 1, 2, 3 in money. Keep in mind, Pridestalkr shared in that bottom turret gold, but Licorice still just farming up a storm. Sure, Cola's counting towards that a little bit, but doing very well up there.
Yep, and he's about to cash out. He's actually really, really close. 2 minions away from that cash out here. Does hit level 11 now, so now you have the AoE on your E. That is really big at full stacks, on those auto attacks. You have the additional splash on your E active. You have the additional splash. That is where Kayle really starts to get strong. Of course, at 16, you get the additional range, you get the true damage, you get the fully stacked passive just kind of by default. So that is very, very powerful. But a Kayle at level 11 is definitely no slouch, especially once you hit 2 items. But pretty respectable now, and looks like Cloud9 are moving over, but are they too late to actually contest this? The bot lane's pretty behind the play.
Blaber visible, Olleh marks him well enough. Fudge wants in, finds the knock-up. Not much of a fight just yet. Wukong double knock-up here onto Fudge, forced to flash away. We've got Yone around. Jensen, does he have enough? Ornn's already dead. Knocked down by Ablazeolive. Ablazeolive himself gets the shield from Licorice, stays safe. Rocket's not going to land for much more. He kills a clone. King gets the shield. King flashes to safety. The flash follows Stixxay. One shot from killing him. Jensen turns one back around. A 1-to-1 team fight.
1-to-1 team fight. They're very close, but Jensen in trouble now. Gonna get hit by the chain. He's
gonna
dead.
get snapped back. There's no way you live through this one. Wants to ult, still gets shut down, and Stixxay's on the board.
Yeah, Golden Guardian's able to take that team fight, even with Licorice using the ulti on Ablazeolive's clone. It was a misclick there right as the clone popped. He ulted the clone. And that's why it can sometimes, in those situations, be really good to actually use champion portraits, because that can avoid those types of situations. But they get the Herald, they win the fight, they're gonna get mid lane tower. They are very far ahead at this point. With the 3rd dragon here on the horizon, Cloud9 looking like they are in some serious trouble in this one.
And they get the charge, so mid lane turret, not long for the world either. 3,500 gold lead. And you already know what I'm going to say, they are looking good in the late game team fight as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it started off okay for Cloud9, but I mean, they're just not in a position to really fight. Like, look at where the bot lane is when they're actually engaging this. The bot lane is still not even on your screen. When is the first auto attack from King, right? Just
there.
Now.
Fudge dies.
Fudge is already dead, right? So that is the main problem here. There is the little issue with the clone, of course, as the ulti went onto the wrong target right as they split apart. But I thought with a 3-man ulti from Blaber, there might have been an angle for them to win that fight, but unfortunately they just didn't have the follow-up there. Their bot lane was not in position, and it felt like they really overforced this one.
Yeah.
If you want your bot lane there to be there and to fight, they need to be there much earlier, and if they're not, you just kind of need to accept the situation as it is. Say, all right, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because now they force that fight, and now you can't really even realistically fight this one because they're down ultis. There's no summoners on King. It becomes very difficult to actually find an angle to do this. Like, if you show up to try to fight this, I think you just send in Wukong with the Kayle on the King, and he's probably toast.
Yeah, I don't know how you play around that one. Lulu can give him some durability, but yeah, gonna be a tough road. On the way towards Lord Dominic's here for Stixxay, basically itemizing around a 3-item spike. It is a trough here on 2, but wanted the Gale Force option, his mobility, and then not going Kraken for the tank busting, and that's just his choice to make. We are dragging up in 10 seconds. TP coming down for Cloud9. They would like to fight.
But they lose mid lane prio. So Golden Guardians are going to be able to shove out mid here. And if they want, they could just trade the dragon for gold. And it looks like that is actually their option. They're saying you're overcommitting on this. Pridestalkr could look for the steal.
He can W and then he
just blast cones in, then W's out.
Yeah. I was looking for a flash, but yeah, he can blast cone then W. Jumps over. Doable Q smite. He's going to grab it to Lillia. And now he's got no way out, actually. So he's going to lose his life for the play. The attempt will not get much. Maybe a snipe. Not quite enough of Ablazeolive. has to now sidestep. Ornn does so. Nothing lands. Mid lane tier 2 is gone. They take left side jungle.
I still actually like the call to go for this, because if he steals that, I think it is massively beneficial for them. They take down that tier 2 mid, and he's actually harassing the recalls here. So I think there's a good shot that they actually get tier 1 top as well. Cloud9 is going to try to trade for this bot side, but they take away some of the camps on top side. They get some vision on top side. They are just going to recall. Oh my god.
Yeah, he feels totally safe, jumps back over the wall. There's still 3 down here. This turret definitely taking a bit of shots, and it's going to be top outer for bot outer, it looks like here. So Cloud9, to be fair, are equally trading objectives in this one. Smart of Jensen to keep the push going, but I mean, for how, I don't even want to say indecisive, inactive Golden Guardians were yesterday, the fact that they said, no, you know what, screw it, we'll mid tier 2 and take 3 jungle camps for a dragon, and just made the call and they're all on the page. Like, that's so much better than yesterday.
Yeah, no, I actually really like it. I think it's absolutely defensible to try to fight as well. Again, King had no sums, so I do think they could have tried to look for that, but they didn't feel that they had the correct setup. So if you can't win the fight, just get out of there, take something else. They are going to be closing in, I think, on 2 items here, pretty soon for a lot of these carries, you have to think.
Yeah. 7k gold on Kayle is basically double item plus Mercs almost.
Yeah,
it's
he's
like
almost to his mythic.
It's like 32 for the mythic and obviously
the combined
3k for the Nashers. So yeah, 72 at minimum with no Dorans, which by the way he has 2 of these items. So on the way up, still looking really good, and obviously wants 4 more levels till he gets the permanent Arisen
I think
bonus?
it's Ascended or something like that. And yeah, I mean, he's already almost level 13. He's going to get 13, I think, on the next wave. And especially, getting 16, it is Exalted, not Ascended. You get the increase in attack range, so that really is such a big deal. The increase in attack range to 625 makes it a lot more accessible to kind of trade with some of these champions that do outrange you. So we'll see how effective he is going to be, but I mean, it's Golden Guardian's game to lose at this point. 4.4k, 4.6k now in the advantage here. Have really good scaling on their side. And have the objective advantage. So we'll see what they can actually get done with it, because Cloud9, coming in heavy favorites for sure. Of course, they're not playing with their intended starting lineup, but it's tough. You're missing your intended starters. You're in Super Week. You don't want to have, a 0-2 or 0-3 start, because that is going to put you way down as far as the kind of pace when you're thinking about the regular season.
And here we are into this one, 10,000 gold, 10,000 health, I should say, on the Baron, 4,800 gold lead, 2 dragons to 1, and we have it beginning. Blaber going to look for the Swirl Seed, Blue Trinket, they're going to get off. They don't find an engage. I will say teamfight engage a little bit small for Golden Guardians. You can kind of haste the Wukong and have him start it, but it's really just him diving into his face and hoping he finds a good target. Nothing like an Ornn, nothing like a Nautilus to really get a fight going.
Totally.
Oh, he's going to find himself knocked up. Pretty good engage here, but it was maybe a bait. There is Wukong. Blaber forced to flash away. Licorice low. Will ult to block more damage. Stays safe for now. Blaber at 1 hit. Lulu here to help, but will he die? Not just yet. Kench pulls him back out as well. So supports for days, keeping people alive. No one dies.
We'll see, do they want to just go back towards the Baron, pushing Blaber completely out. Blaber has no flash now and used his smite to actually heal. So they're just going to push it in the waves. Mid is getting pushed in there by Ablazeolive. Licorice towards top. Has to be a bit respectful because he doesn't have his ulti. But they can just go right back on the Baron. They're actually on it right now. And it is going to go down very quickly. Blaber's nowhere close. He just did red buff on bottom side of the map.
Rocket gets tanked, 5k health with 1 Fudge marked away, but yeah, they need to figure out where Lillia is, but here comes Jensen as well. Jensen does have an ulti. Olleh a bit low, 2k health, dives across, almost dies. 200 HP left, Ablazeolive marks the front line, goes for Fudge. Baron is claimed. King left alone, will not be attacked yet, but Ablazeolive still in the chase. Double flash from the mid laners, and this is Golden Guardians getting a 0-death Baron.
Really well done. Just a great setup. They choke out the vision. They bring in Cloud9. They look for the turn. Pridestalkr committed very heavily onto Blaber, pushes him out completely. And with Blaber out of the picture, they just go right back to the Baron. Aphelios, Kayle are going to kill that thing so fast. It was mostly just Aphelios sitting on it for a large portion of that. Licorice coming in at the end. Cloud9 feeling like they had to fight for it, because now down 6,000 gold here. A massive difference. And 3rd dragon on the horizon here for them in 30 seconds. I don't expect Cloud9 to try to challenge at this one, but as the way it's going, they're getting further and further behind. Level 14 now for Kayle, got a lot of experience there, completed the Mythic Combine, so well on his way to that 3rd item as well. Has an Amp Tome, so will be interesting to see where he goes. Is it going to be like a Lich Bane, or perhaps a Cosmic Drive or a Zhonya's?
Yeah. I would kind of just guess Zhonya's pros really love the stopwatch active, and that just feels like a default. It's 2nd or 3rd on every mage in the game sort of build situation. So we'll see, though. Lots of options are available if he feels he's safe enough because he has a Tahm Kench, which is a reasonable assumption. Can just go for more damage like a Lich Bane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Sonya's is pretty good against Yone ult, things like that. So there are some obvious ones that you can kind of use it on. At the top side, we do see Jensen pushing down. Objective bounties are active, so they are going to get some gold back there. And it looks like their option here is to just try to split push it out. Licorice is going to go back and answer. Pridestalkr will just continue this push, but now they're sending back Ablazeolive to answer, so they won't lose their tier 2 top. They do take a couple towers here down on that bottom side. They have full vision control. I mean, look, this whole area is completely golden Guardians. There's no wards except that one in the center of the map there for Cloud9.
Yep.
So no chance of actually contesting at this dragon. Completely choked out of that side of the map. So it's a good option for Cloud9 to try to trade, but they are just falling further and further behind.
Option 4, Banshee's Veil.
Banshees.
Yeah, all right.
That is a weird option, to be honest. There's like, it's Lillia is the only damage, and there's not really, like, I guess you could say... It
blocks Yone ult.
Yone ult, yeah.
It feels weird.
I guess. But also, like, if Ornn starts the fight, the first half of the Ornn ult breaks it, and then you still get knocked up. You avoid the slow.
Yeah.
Seems like a weird option, but either way, you know, going to be going towards that. Doesn't really matter too much, very likely, in this game. Don't love it as a choice, though.
There have been 5 kills. We're spending a lot of time talking about Kayle itemization because it's a game we both play a lot. And like, there's actually 17 viable items, which is fun. Like, it's actually fun being able to like play the jigsaw puzzle of what do I like here and here and here and here. On the way towards some more flat pen here for Ablazeolive, and we are 4 minutes away from Dragon Soul Red Bull Baron power play ending in pretty much gold neutral. They got the income from the Baron, they got the XP, but as they traded turrets back and forth, all they did was claim their 3rd Drake. So pretty slow pace. Golden Guardians do not feel the pressure to end early, as far as I can tell.
And to your earlier point, they don't have great engage, right? So unless Cloud9 actually comes out to fight things, they don't really have a great way to start the fight, right? If they are first to an objective and Cloud9 tries to enter the objective and Wukong has a good angle for an engage, that's kind of how you start that fight out. But barring that, you can't really just like walk up and Tahm Kench W them under the tower and try to pull off a dive. You have to respect the damage that Cloud9 has. So Golden Guardian's just going to continue to play for those objectives and force Cloud9 to try to come up with an answer. And I think the game is likely to be decided, you know, in 3.5 minutes or so here at this Soul point. If Golden Guardians can get that, it's probably going to be lights out for Cloud9. So I do expect Cloud9 to look to actually contest.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Golden Guardians' big chance to try to really close out the game, to get a game-winning fight.
One silver lining here for Cloud9, which reminiscent of their gameplay, unfortunately, in this one, is they've got a minute, just for fun, we flame. We've got a minute desync between the Baron coming up and the Dragon Soul. Baron, right, much harder for Golden Guardians to kind of sit on and be like, you know, are we going, are we not? Whereas Dragon, like, just doesn't hurt you at this stage of the game. So theoretically, there's a Baron dance that I mean, we've seen more ridiculous Baron dances, you know, as soon as 2 months ago. So certainly a possibility, but it is a slim one here, as Cloud9 will try their best. Ornn, level 14, does start to get to transform items, so that spike is coming through.
Yeah, it is, but on the other side, Licorice is 15, right? And I think that's like more impactful in this game probably than the Ornn items will be. If he can hit 16, you can see he's about halfway through this level, so just continue giving him solo experience. At this point in the game, honestly, Pridestalkr should be giving him all his camps too. Just try to get him to 16 before the soul fight. That is a really big deal.
Yeah, if you care about Baron, you got 65 seconds if to like get there. And yeah, just about 120 and change. So yeah, I want to see if he's going to grab the Krugs and anything else. And we keep going. 6,500 gold lead. Dragon Soul point. And Cloud9 fighting from the back foot. Blaber gonna find himself a Ablazeolive. It's an easy sleep. Gets the Q first, and a dunk on the W. Lulu's there for the knockup. Should be a kill, and King is able to claim the money. Now the timer is going to be tight. 50 seconds till Baron comes up. No TP for Ablazeolive. It is a 10-second long 5v4. If there's a small window here for Cloud9.
Yeah, I think with the resets, they're probably not even going to try to go for anything, unfortunately for them. But was a nice little combo. I thought he was actually going to be able to get out of there with flash available, with ulti, just flash W, alt W, whatever. You could create a lot of space, but they actually layered the CC quite well. The sleep came in, the knock-up from Destiny's ult over the wall was quite effective.
Yeah.
Licorice there, very close. It looks like probably one wave will actually get him 16, so he should get 16 now. As he does arrive down to that bottom side, has the Banshees, so 3 items now complete. IE's done there for Stixxay. C9 going to be really happy to actually get that kill on King as well, because he's really close to his IE. So if you can get Jinx to 3 items and you play the fight well, there's always a chance, right? You know, gold lead be damned. If you get a couple good crits there before they can really kind of get in range, you never know what's going to be able to happen. Jensen, though, very, very far from his IE, which is a little bit unfortunate for the Yone. So not going to be anywhere close to being able to grab that now.
T-minus 1 minute until Dragon Soul. Golden Guardians may want to play a little risk-averse in the sense that as long as they're alive, Soul is basically theirs, and as long as they're alive, Baron is basically theirs. Cloud9, I mean, he knew the timer, and they just were not able to do anything about it. Golden Guardians collect their checks.
Yeah. It's a little bit strange. I mean, I guess they just didn't feel that they could fight, but like
it doesn't get better from here.
Yeah, Jensen's coming out of base. He has his TP. Fudge was bot side. He has his TP. So they could have tried to contest because now you've given up Baron. So the additional stats are just going to make this Soul fight that much harder. The waves pushing against you are going to make that much harder. So we'll see if they can actually find the right angle here. But this is starting to feel like a little bit of last chance saloon.
Couple of slows. Flash Q, he's gonna sleep Stixxay, but a Tahm Kench will be in range. Grabs him. Ooh, double ults actually, as also Kayle put the button down. Pridestalkr gonna get it right back out, and Fudge just gonna be slowed up. He's gonna go down. Pridestalkr gets the kill credit, and a flash engage for the second knockup. Licorice goes in for a bit more. Licorice has never won a game against Cloud9, and he will do it today. On the way down to the mid lane, they will knock down the waves. They will go for the turret, and inhibitors standing, but not much of Cloud9 left.
Well played by Golden Guardians. Really clean game from them today. Bouncing back big time after their game yesterday. Cloud9 pretty much dominated start to finish.
They gotta wait. The wave's still gotta go down, you know. Even the durability update affected the Minuet as far as I can tell. The Baron on there. But we're going for it. Jensen, one last stand, trying his hardest. King low, cleanses, runs away. Licorice still alive. Olleh cutting back and forth. And it's time for maybe a few more bits on the stats. Oh, the double kill in for Licorice. Nexus falls, and Golden Guardians knock down Cloud9.
Really big win for them. I like the draft a lot more today. You know, yes, they weren't super proactive, but they didn't need to be with this draft, and that was the big difference. Stixxay and Olleh creating a nice advantage in that bot lane, getting themselves an early 2v2 kill here, unlock Pridestalkr to start stacking those dragons, kind of create that pressure point on the map. You know, Blaber wasn't really able to find much. Jensen was looking for some aggressive angles, you know, throughout the game, but not really any of them were panning out for Cloud9. And it just felt like this slow and steady incremental advantage that Golden Guardians were able to grab and never really gave up.
Yeah, it felt so different from yesterday's game where Licorice was once again just trading farm back and forth, but instead of trading farm in Nar, Camille, where whatever, trading farm in you know, Kayle, Ornn, you're like, this is great. Yeah. We're both at 9 CS a minute. This is exactly my kind of game.
Well, and such a difference in the bot lane as well.
Oh my
right?
gosh, they clapped.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was such a big deal because yesterday it was just like they had to give up everything, right? They were playing the Zeri Yuumi. You know, that just did not work out whatsoever. You know, I think it was kind of a big struggle for them.
Yeah, and instead they just kind of crushed onto King and Destiny. Now, of course, we know eventually Cloud9 want a different bot lane. Yeah. I expect Berserker and Sven to look a lot better than this. You know, unfortunate, but like, yeah, these are your academy players getting brought up because, well, okay, Sven landed recently and Berserker's stuck in Korea right now. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, your academy players against an LCS bot lane, right? And I know Stixxay was an academy last split, but like, I've been a Stixxay homer like ever since he joined CLG. I always believe in him. I've believed in him the whole time.
Stixxay, Tristana.
I'm a big Stixxay fan. I am. Like, I just am, and that's the case for me. And I mean, those two played really well. Like, they completely ran over an academy bot lane. When again, half that bot lane was also an academy, right? So he stepped up and stepped up. Olleh, of course, is great as well. Like, he's been grinding. He's doing really, really well. It's why I'm like pretty high on this Golden Guardians lineup. They went 9-9 last split. I expect better than that this time, personally. And good to see that they actually like played with the game plan.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was a better draft. They executed very well on it, and it's a big win against Cloud9. You know, whether or not Cloud9 has their full starting roster, this is to be expected one of the top teams in the league, and so to get a win here against them early is just going to mean good things for your remaining strength of schedule. You don't have to fight them again until the second round robin. You have a long time before you're going to have to face them. So it is going to be a really nice start. But on the other side for Cloud9, now 0-2. even with Berserker and Sven coming back in. Of course, you don't have to get top of this table. You don't need the upper bracket advantage always, but you think about TL finished last split 14-4. That was first place, right? They're already 0-2. It does make it harder to compete for those very, very top spots if you care about getting first place and having that kind of upper bracket berth.
And as we saw, like, 2 lives matters. Have you met EG, who lost first round and then ran the lower bracket?
G2
like,
as well.
G2, who, 4th best team at MSI. EG, 3rd best team. We're just going to put it out there. Kappa. Anyway, but like that matters, right? So okay, are Cloud9 gonna reach top 4? Probably.
Yeah.
But if TSM are leveled up, if Golden Guardians and FLICKR are leveled up, like if that becomes a close fight, right? Then who knows? And so, yeah, it's like really far in the future and everything else can matter, but it's still a relevant point of what's going to be going on. So we're going to be catching up with Licorice on the other side of the break, followed by the battle between Dignitas and Team Liquid Honda. Don't go anywhere.
Upgrade your shiny slippers to keep sparkling.
Hey, Ash, what's your plan?
A new and very serious game, Jake from State Farm, but these in-game purchases are wrecking my wallet. I can't keep sparkling, Jake. I need a sparkle.
State Farm has options like combining home and auto, so you get a rate that fits your budget.
Very nice. The gameplay is really strategic, I swear.
For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or click to get a quote today.